All right, this is my practice run, so bear with me. Let's see. I want to make a circle. Oh, that's cool. And now I'm gonna, so we're gonna hear me draw, like, talk to myself as I figure out this stuff. All right, so now I need to, oh no, see, look at, stop it right now. I don't want to do that, undo that. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the line. All right, go back to pen. See, terrible deal. Oh my god. Okay, what happened? Tools, oh there it goes. Pen. Jeez. This is gonna irritate me. I needed to stay at that thickness. All right. So, oh, oopsie. I know you guys are laughing at me. Whatever. Oh, that line is so janky, but whatever, you get the point. No, that's terrible. I gotta erase that. How do I do that? Without erasing the circle. Oh, jeez. Oh, I didn't erase the circle. Cool. Oh, that's better. Okay. We got our unit circle. And, all right, so we got 0, pi over 2, pi, that's a pi, and 3 pi over 2. And then if you go one full rotation, you get 2 pi. Okay, so what we talked about like years ago, last time we saw each other, is the distance around the circle, so circumference, 2 pi r, radius is 1. The distance around that circle, if you were to take a measuring tape and measure the distance around, it would be 2 pi, because the radius is 1. It's a unit circle. That is approximately 6.28. And I told you I'm going to be calling this distance that we're measuring miles, but later on we're going to understand that it's actually radians. Okay, so if you measure the distance around this circle, if you go around, if you're walking around this track and you're measuring how many miles this circle is, it is exactly 2 pi miles. How come my line is so thick? Here we go back. We'll go back. Or approximately 6.28 miles, or radians. Okay, so your unit circle, when you measure these pieces of the circle, when you measure the arcs are what make the circles. There's exact values like pi over 2. So this piece, so I'm going to do it in red. This arc distance, this arc measurement, pi over 2, that's how many miles if you walk just that first quadrant. Okay, so if you were to measure how much you're walking and you land on this pi over 2 spot, that's pi over 2 miles. Oh my god, the thickness is going to irritate my soul. I have to keep changing it. All right, which is approximately, pi over 2 is about 3.14 over 2, so it's about 1.57 miles. So remember, when you talk about pi over 2, that is the distance of that arc. That's the measurement of that arc. Okay, the coordinates are something else. We'll get to those in a second. All right, if I measure, starting at 0, notice we always go counterclockwise. If I measure the half of the circle, so that half of the arc, okay, that arc, that semicircle, right, that's half a circle, that's pi miles. Here we go with the thickness again, which is approximately, pi is approximately what, everybody? And everybody says 3.14, but I can't hear you because, you know, coronavirus sucks. Anyways, 3.14 miles. So if you were to take a tape measure and you measured how much you walked from the starting point at 0 all the way to this point on the other side of the axis, it's about 3.14 miles, again, or radians. All right, let me get a different color here. If I were to start at 0 and walk all the way around, I had some energy and I decided to walk to this spot, That's 3.3 pi over 2 miles, or approximately, let me change my thickness, 4.71 miles. So that distance, starting at 0, going all the way around the circle, if you were to measure how many miles you walked, it's about 4.71. Okay, because 3 times pi, that's like 3 times 3.14 divided by 2, it's about 4.71. And again, if you walked all the way around the circle in blue, that total distance, the measurement of that entire circle is about 6.28, or exactly 2 pi miles, or radians. So those are your mile markers. Okay, those are the distances of the arcs. Those are the lengths of the arcs. Okay, so I'm going to write that down somewhere. Let's write it in a different color. Let's get back on black. Okay. The pi guys, okay, I don't know what happened to my black, but whatever, are the distances or measurements of the arc lengths. Okay, so you got to know the miles. Okay, how to walk that many miles. Now here, let me make sure you understand this, and we'll talk about going backwards and stuff, but I just want you to understand. Say I started at 0 and I walked backwards. Okay, this measurement, this yellow piece that I just highlighted, that is a pi over 2 chunk. So it's the same measurement as the original pi over 2. We just went in a backwards direction. So this chunk, this quarter of the circle, okay, this quarter of the circle, just this piece of quadrant, that is pi over 2 miles. Okay, that's how big that piece of arc length is. But since we went backwards, it's negative. Okay, so what you got to understand are these pieces of these arcs, these distances. Okay, then we're going to get to the coordinates. So the mileages are different than the GPS coordinates, or the XY coordinates. Okay, the distance or the miles are different than the XY coordinates. Okay, if I said go pi over 2 miles, you would say, all right, Sam, in what direction? Pi over 2 miles, you go in our counterclockwise direction. That's the normal direction for the GPS, or I'm sorry, for the unit circle. And if I said go negative pi over 2 miles, then you would go clockwise to negative pi over 2 miles. Either way, you walked pi over 2 miles. You walked 1.57 miles. You just walked it in a different direction. That's all. Same amount of miles, but in a different direction. That's where the GPS coordinates come into. I could say, hey, walk pi over 2 miles. You got to know what direction to go into. And depending on your direction, that gives you a different GPS coordinate. Okay, so I'm going to end this here. This was my trial run. And then on the next trial run, I'm going to talk about the coordinates. Okay, how do I stop this? That'd have been jacked up if I really wasn't recording it all the time. Oh, I was. Ha, let's see how it goes. Stop. Stop it. Oh my gosh. How do I save this? Oh my gosh. Stop it.